So for Miss Richardson students, we've been looking at 3 questions. Do you remember the 3 questions we've been talking about in class? Can I please have one student tell me what's one of the questions we've been discussing? Kaylee, all the way back there.
What we're fighting for.
Yeah, what in your life is worth fighting for? What in your heart is worth moving forward and putting your voice and talents to? That was our first question. What's the second question? Yeah, Jamie?
Why are we fighting?
Yeah, why is this thing that we're using our talents for worthwhile? And what is the third and final question? D.
How do you fight?
How? How do we go about the process of a fight? And at the end of it, our goal is to make sure that every perspective and every voice is heard so that we have a balanced community. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be listening to people who are already doing this work in our community. We're going to be listening to people who are passionate, who are making sacrifices, who are willing to use their talents to create balance and create a healthy community. And so when you're listening to each person that's speaking, I want you to think about those questions. What are they fighting for? Why are they fighting for this? How are they fighting for this? And how does it create a balanced, equitable community, a place for all of us? How is it working to have every voice heard? And pay close attention to how they do different things. You all have a talent. How can you use your talent to serve the purpose that your heart is for?
Mestizo is here to, if you read what they talk about, underrepresented communities, underrepresented artists, social justice issues, a place where people can come and use this space, community space. We have a couple things that Ruby has done mural projects, and she's doing another one now with high school age kids.
Imagine that you are just left a war and you have people that you love killed. Every day you have been afraid of your safety and the safety of your children. Imagine your culture treats you differently than your brothers. You get a different education or none at all. Our refugee women from all nations don't need to imagine that because it is reality for them. So now I help, why I funded the Women of the World is because I want to link my arms to my sisters that are coming in here. The women face poverty, honor killing, social ostracism, rape, mutilation. Women are all over the world being treated badly, and when they come to be a refugee in this country or any country, the agency, they take the man to be sure they are going to school, to work, and the kids to school, but they've forgotten about the women.
And my name's Ryan, and there's a couple of people in the room that call me Mr. Ryan. I used to teach at East High School, and people called me Mr. Plune, and that only lasted about 3 years before I got sick of all the formalities and all of the rules. So I prefer Mr. Ryan or Ryan. And I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I consider myself a teacher, although I'm not teaching in the classroom. The school I went to when I was in high school is what they call a five points area in Denver, Colorado, and it's a place where, as a white male, I was in the minority of the races. So part of what I'll talk about today and part of my passion and what drives my heart is that growing up with a lot of privilege and growing up with access to a lot of things that many of my peers did not have access to. Now I'm 33 years old and I see the same people that I went to high school with who didn't get access to those things are the same inequities that many of you talked about last year in your Voices project, and I heard a little bit in your journey stories. So I'll tell more about that later.
My name is Jamie Bloom. I was born here in Utah, and I'm an environmental lawyer. And one of the things that motivates me with this project and just in general is that because I'm an environmental lawyer, I have a lot of familiarity with science of problems that are in our environment. I spend a lot of time learning about the really specific science of some of the problems that we think of in terms of like dirty air or dirty water. And then I'm also really familiar with the laws that we have to try to address these problems. And when I wanted to become an environmental lawyer, I thought, oh, you know, I care so much about these issues, I need to be in this powerful position as a lawyer so I can address them. And what I've learned is that, you know, the power of a lawyer to address problems like this is only as strong as the power of the laws that are there in place in order to enforce things that we want, like clean water and clean air. And one issue that I'm really passionate about is climate change, and we don't even have a law to address that. And so then becomes the question, well, how do we get those laws? And that's something that lawyers can't do very well without everybody helping. It's got to be a collective effort. It's got to be everyone in the community. It's got to be a movement that's everyone working together. And so that's something that inspires me and I think is really important for people to understand. If we want good laws in the country, we have to be involved in the process of making them.
All right, so to get started, we're going to be talking to you about a project that we call a pilgrimage for hope. Okay, and I'm going to present a little bit about the science around the number 350 and why that number is the most important number in the world. And then Jamie will be talking to you a little bit about what is a pilgrimage and also about how to get to those laws. So to start,
one of the most powerful things that we understood growing up and that my father would talk about was that the better we're able to sort of communicate, the better we're able to learn English and communicate our ideas, the more successful we'll be in the future. And more importantly, the more we can kind of give back to our families, to the people we left behind in Vietnam, and to the people here who still need our help. So one of the things that I did is that I wanted to make sure that I could personally have some sort of positive social change because of all of the great people that I met growing up. So what I do on a personal level is I went to medical school and I became a doctor. So I do family medicine and I specifically focused on underserved care. So in medical school I worked in Spanish Harlem in New York City, in the Bronx and in Queens. And then when I came back to Salt Lake, you would think, oh, Salt Lake, Utah doesn't have the same problems as a big urban city, but it's not true. Utah has a big underserved community right in the heart of the city, right in this neighborhood where we actually grew up. We grew up on the west side here in Rose Park. So the clinic in Rose Park, now called the Stephen J. Ratcliffe Clinic, which we used to call just the Rose Park Clinic. Tons of refugee patients, mostly Spanish speaking. As a physician, that was a way that every single day you're working with an individual and you can kind of make their life better. One of the things that you find though as a physician, if you do underserved care, is that you can't just do medicine. You can't just be a scientist and kind of treat all the diseases. You have to be connected to the people that you're working with, and you have to see that they're a part of this bigger community. And the community has bigger needs. And one of those needs is to make sure that everyone in that community, whether they were born in Rose Park and raised in Rose Park, or whether they came from the Congo or Tanzania, or from Guatemala or Honduras or Vietnam, that they feel safe, they feel connected to the people around them, and that they feel like they're getting the same care there that they would get if they were up at the Huntsman Institute. In high school, which is where you guys are now, our high school West had a TV and film production class. And even though I loved science, I loved math, I loved biology, I knew I kind of wanted to become a doctor, being in that class really opened something up for me because I was like that other person here who said she was a nerd. I was really quiet, I was really kind of shy when I was a freshman and when I was a sophomore. And being in that class gave me a way to sort of break out of that shell and start to kind of express my ideas. And I try to incorporate filmmaking and media into a lot of the things that I do to advocate for sort of social justice and social change. So, you know, I've worked with some of the students in the past to kind of help you guys make your own documentaries and edit those together, and then broadcast them to your families and to the other people in your school. We did that recent project just recently at the Sorensen, and my hope is that we can work on some other things. But I really found that through media, whether it's filmmaking that you show up on a movie screen, or whether it's on television, or now we've got the internet with YouTube and Facebook, you now can reach out and share your voice and your experiences to people that aren't just in East High School, aren't just in your neighborhood, but are in communities all across the nation. And one of the most important things that you can do is that there's probably another student just like you in the middle of Iowa, okay? That's where their family ended up. They're surrounded by cornfields and green hills, right? And they're like, I don't know anyone from the Congo here, I don't know anyone from Tanzania. How can I, this experience, I must be the only one feeling this. And that's what I felt like when I was growing up. But now you can get on Facebook, you can get on YouTube, you can share your experience, and I guarantee you there's somebody else there saying, I had no idea that somebody in Utah was feeling the same way.
I'm Mark Alvarez. I'm an attorney. I love the way Jamie stepped away from her, I guess, practice as a lawyer. I did as well. I think my work has gotten more and more interesting for less and less money. Maybe true for some other people as well. But it's interesting. What I encourage you to do, find a passion and follow it. Don't let anybody else tell you what you have to do. Find something you like and find a way to make money doing it, find a way to make a living doing it. If you do that, not only will you be honest to yourself, you'll also be able to keep going. This was a rally that was held on January 24th, which is important. It was the first day the legislature met. It was a rally for immigration rights. It was organized by a group called United for Social Justice. I was happy to hear Dr. Din make a mention of social justice. We're advocating for social justice on a number of different levels. I'm in complete agreement with Ryan and Jamie also. The issue of climate change is also a social justice issue. There's much immigration occurring because of climate change, and there will be more in the future. These are challenges we have to face not only in Utah and the United States, but globally.
I have a little question.
I'm Audrey. I have ancestors from Hungary and Mexico.
I'm Tico and speak Spanish.
Right? We all have links with each other. And if we needed to, I could find a link that I have with each and every one of you, right? And when we're deciding about what kind of change, what kind of voice we want to have in our community, it's important that we remember that we are all connected with each other. We all depend on each other. We all need each other. And so in our community, we need to work to make our community better for everyone. Because if any one of us is having a harder time, then our links start to fall apart, right? And since we're all connected to each other, it's important that we work to make a better community for every single one of us.